I'm sitting in front of my first ever cut flower garden in Florida, and you can see just by looking right behind me that it did not go well. About 4 or 5 months ago, I started flowers from seed, then I transplanted them, and today I've got almost nothing left. So let's talk about what happened and some of the lessons I've learned along the way. I'm hoping that sharing this will help prevent you from making the same mistakes I did. So let's talk about it. This is what my cut flower garden looks like today. You can see there's hardly anything in it. There's some weeds popping up there. We can see a little bit of impatiens. There's a milkweed that never flowered. And then we've got my one successful amaranth that's growing really well. Here's some celosia. It looks pretty interesting. It's a little bit twisty and windy. Over here we've got more milkweed and impatiens. Right here, another amaranth that's mildly successful. A celosia that's basically sideways. And then we've got another celosia and an amaranth that's failing to thrive. Another impatiens. And honestly, that is about it. The first thing I'm going to do better next time is making sure I chose actual cut flowers. When I was planning my August cut flower garden, I used the monthly IFAS flower planting guides as my start, and then I filtered down those flowers based on height. As a rookie flower gardener, I thought the height was a pretty good way to figure out if it was a cut flower or not, but it turns out there's an easier way than using the height. So what I did was I messed up 2 out of 5 flowers. I planted amaranth, celosia, zinnias, milkweed, and impatiens. If you look at the label of the amaranth that I bought, you can see it says excellent cut flower, fresh or dried. The celosia package says something really similar. It says stunning I'm reading it backwards. Stunning cut or dried flower. The zinnia also says it's a long-lasting cut flower. The seed packet of the impatiens says nothing like that. The milkweed doesn't say it either. So it comes as no surprise to see that the amaranth, the celosia, and the zinnia were the only flowers that even came close to being cut flowers. Actually, my first and only bouquet that I made was from one of these Key West blend zinnias. Wow. Now maybe the picture looks a little bit bigger than it is, but don't be fooled. This is a little 4-ounce mason jar and a tiny little flower. I started seeds for another round of cut flowers to try again, and this time I did a little bit better, although I still don't think I was perfect at it. I picked some delphinium, which says cut flower, some snapdragons, cut flower, some sweet william, cut flower, and some carnations, cut flower. The one I messed up was a petunia, so I guess it's going to take me 3 rounds to get it all the way right. What it boils down to is the first mistake I made was not making sure all 5 of my flowers were actually cut flowers. I'll put a link in the top right corner of the screen to my very first cut flower garden plan video. In that video, I go through how I selected my flowers from the IFAS resources and seed starting. The next lesson I learned was to be more careful about the timing of the planting. So I didn't really screw this up too bad, but let me explain. The 5 flowers I chose, amaranth, celosia, zinnia, milkweed, and impatiens, were all listed on the IFAS planting guide for flowers in the month of August. Now, I started these from seed in a seed starting cell on August 15th. Some of these, like amaranth and celosia, they were kind of at the tail end of their planting season. So if something happened to those seedlings and they died and I needed to restart them, or they didn't make it through transplant or something like that, I basically had no time to try again because all of that would have had to happen in about 2 weeks. So what I did this time around was, with a target planting date of December, I looked at the IFAS planting guides for the month of December, and I purposefully chose cut flowers from that list that also could be planted in like January and February. So we've got delphinium, Pacific giant, snapdragon, sweet william, dianthus, carnation, and petunia. I started these from seed early so that ideally I would be able to transplant them during that December to February time frame. They were looking really good until I left for almost a week to go to my in-laws' house for Thanksgiving. So a few of them have died, But this is exactly what I mean about being a little bit more intentional about the timing. Because I chose the early part of the time frame for these flowers, I can just start again with all of these ones that have died, and I'll still be in the window for those plants. The third thing I did was way underestimate the support needs for cut flowers. Even when they were in seed starting cells, I was needing support for the flowers. Look at the zinnias from when I was transplanting them. I had to use a barbecue skewer and a zip tie to hold those zinnias up. Now what happened, whether it was in the seed starting cell or when I transplanted it, was some of those stems actually got severed because that twist tie was a little too tight on the stem. Once I realized that was happening, I had to get away from using the zip ties and the barbecue skewers, so I went for a bamboo stake and a plant clip. But the plants were way too small to be supported this way. And so basically my plant clips were falling down. I tried to pinch some in the hinge right there, but even that was severing the stem, so that wasn't going to work. But just doing this support was basically doing nothing because I couldn't get the plant clip to stay up. So what I plan to do during the next round of my cut flower garden is buy these support stakes that I found on Amazon. They're metal and they have this nice loop at the top where you can gently put the stem into the loop and it supports the flower. Honestly, I was kind of waiting for them to go on sale during all these holiday sales, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, so I'm just going to go ahead and buy them. They come in a variety of sizes, like 12-inch, 16-inch, 24-inch, and even 36-inch. So I plan to get a variety of them to have on hand for all the different heights that are going to be going on in my cut flower garden. If you're interested in how I built this DIY tree ring border for my cut flower garden, I'll put a link in the top right corner to a video that shows exactly how I did that. Now, all of those things don't really explain why there's no flowers in the garden. That brings me to my last lesson learned, and that is no kids allowed. Just kidding, I can't really keep the kids out of the backyard, but I need to figure out a way to make my 3-year-old stop wanting to play with the bamboo stakes in the cut flower garden. About 2 weeks ago, I was inside cooking dinner, and he was out here pulling up all the amaranth that I tried to grow for months and months. So I've got to figure out some way to make the cut flower garden not so interesting for my 3-year-old. If you're interested in watching how I transplanted all of those seedlings into the cut flower garden for the first time, watch this video in the upper right hand corner. Those are the lessons that I've learned during my first cut flower garden in Florida. I'd love to hear it if you guys have some different experiences and different things that you've learned along the way. So drop a comment below if you've got something to share. I'm going to continue making videos about a cut flower garden in hopes that I eventually get it figured out and can provide some really good guidance for a beginner cut flower gardener. If you're interested in that type of content, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell and you won't miss it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.